Hey, how's it going everybody? So in this video I'm going to be showing you how I installed the RCI fuel tank skid plate on my 2013 GX460. So first we start off by removing the factory skid plate. It's held up by three 13mm bolts on the driver's side and one 13mm bolt above the drive shaft towards the passenger side. Here's a look at the factory skid plate off of the truck. It's really not that bad and it'll definitely hold up for most people out there. But now let's take a look at the RCI fuel tank skid plate. It runs the entire length of the fuel tank instead of just the front, and this thing is thick. This is everything that was purchased with the kit, and it's actually labeled for a Toyota 4Runner, so I'm sure that these are interchangeable. So here's the proper orientation of the skid plate. This is the front. You can tell this is the front because of this swooping angled section. And then the three holes here are the mounting holes that would mount directly to the factory location of the skid plate. The three holes that are on the driver's side. This is now the rear driver's side of the skid plate. Using this hanger, it's going to mount directly to the frame. The rear passenger side, you're going to use the longest hanger that's available in the kit. And then the front passenger side, you have two options. I believe the shorter one is for 4Runners, but the longer one is the one that we're going to use. Here's a look at all the hardware you're going to be using. The kit comes with 3 carriage bolts, all the washers and lock washers and nuts that you're going to need. The remaining 6 bolts are going to be bolted straight to the mounting holes on the frame of the truck. So again, the 14mm bolts will go directly to the frame. And using those same bolts are what you're going to use to mount the hangers onto the frame. So here I'm starting with the passenger side front hanger. It's going to be a really tight fit behind the drive shaft, so it's best to use an angled wrench. The rear passenger hanger will be mounted directly to the frame above the back half of the drive shaft. This thing needed a lot of turns to get tightened. So now we're looking at the rear driver's side of the tank, and this is the mounting hole you're going to be using for that 14mm bolt. It's right next to the location of the hanger for the fuel tank itself. It's going to be another really tight fit, so just get at it at an angle that you're comfortable with. If this were the aluminum skid plate, I'm pretty sure we wouldn't have needed the jack, but being the steel skid plate, we really needed the jack to support it. I found it best to get the skid plate as close as you can, and then from there you can adjust by actually lifting the skid plate off of the jack, enough to get at least one bolt on there. From there, I installed the first 3 14mm bolts into the factory location and then the rear passenger side corner. So that way the entire skid plate was secured before I continued. Then moved on to the front passenger side. And then finally the rear driver's side. I will say that this was the most difficult bolt to insert because just the tight fit that was behind there. Keep in mind that when I was installing these bolts, I kept everything pretty loose so that way I still had wiggle room just in case I needed to move the skid. So now I'm just tightening everything up. I started with corner to corner like you would when you're doing wheels. I'm not torquing anything down, I'm literally just hand tightening everything. Once the actual skid is tightened down to all the hangers, go back and tighten all the hangers to the frame. Again, I'm going corner to corner. And so here it is, the skid plate's all mounted up, everything's tightened. This thing is completely solid. RCI did an incredible job on this skid plate. I did scratch it up a little bit on the jack. I didn't put any barrier between the actual skid plate or the jack, so you'll see the red paint. If I were to do it again, yeah, I would probably put a barrier between the skid plate and the jack, but it's a skid plate, you're gonna have scratches on it. This plate fits nice and snug up there. It definitely feels bomb-proof. I'm loving it already. Alright guys, so that's it. I hope you were able to learn something. That took me about, I'd say, an hour and a half, just because that thing's pretty heavy. Getting the bolts to, the hangers to line up properly, it does get kind of time consuming, but everything, it's pretty much, it's done now. You know, we're all done, and the process is very simple. I'm not the smartest person alive, and I got it done real quick. So again, if you guys like the video, give it a thumbs up. If you haven't subscribed already, please consider subscribing and stick around, guys. Thank you for watching.